In today's show, we look back at Monday's games in the NBA. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_Beeble, on TikTok at redrock_Beeble, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. We're here to look at those games from Monday. There were 6 of them. Warning.
Let's get it on, Gilly.
All right. Let's talk about some news updates since we did the What to Watch For injury update show. D'Angelo Russell is questionable for the Lakers, so what happens with Troy Brown and what happens with Dennis Schroeder and even Austin Reeves is going to be interesting if Russell is actually available to play. The Bronco, Jalen Williams, he's questionable for the Thunder. Not great. Wrist sprain there. If he is out, well, they'll just chuck a bunch of guys in. Wiggins will be one of those players. I would guess you get some more minutes from Robinson Earl. You'll get perhaps more shots for Lou Dort. It'll just be a messy situation. And I think you'll find better streaming options if Jalen Williams happens to be out. And then in Washington, a little bit of a surprise. Monte Morris is questionable after being back-to-back and having that epidural injection into his back. He is perhaps available to return. We are still holding Delon Wright. I don't know if they'll just go straight back to Morris starting. I think they will. I don't think they should, but I think they will. And that will obviously impact Delon. But Delon's minutes had been up prior to Morris's injury. So we hold him and we see what happens. The Wizards have got a nice 3-game in 4-night stretch coming up. And I think that Morris will probably sit at least one of those back-to-back games. Let's look at the most added players over the last 24 hours. Number 1 is Tyus Jones, up 23%. Absolutely clear must-roster player. The next one was MC Hamidou Diallo.
Stop. Hammer time.
The Pistons had 3 games in 4 nights. They had a bunch of players out. And then Diallo went and got injured today as well. And he left the arena in a boot. I don't think he's going to play tomorrow. So while it's the right move to have streamed him in, it's probably not going to work out. And I think if you wanted to drop him, it'll be okay. Cam Reddish up 18%. Well, that one obviously has worked out. We don't know when Simons is coming back. And as long as Simons is out, Reddish appears to be the guy. He's been playing really, really well. Huge minutes today. Great points, 3 steals sort of a player. Really, really producing at a high level. And that's a good add. Chris Dunn up 14%. We know that Sexton is out at least another week. So Dunn is going to be useful for this week for 12-teamers. Xavier T. Illman up 14%. No Steve Adams. No Brandon Clark. Tillman's a great add. Bruce Brown up 11% while the Nuggets are playing today. I think he's okay. There was some doubt about Michael Porter Jr., but Porter played. Chanchar was the one who ended up being out. Brown is okay, and if the schedule makes sense, you use him, but otherwise, we'll see. Marvin Bagley up 10%. That's Marvin Bagley the third. Up 10%, yes, because Duran and Stewart remain out. I think as soon as those guys come back, though, Bagley's not going to be reliable. We saw another interesting game from Bagley today. He got good minutes. That's probably all I can say there. And then Sadiq Bey up 8%, another big minute game for him. We'll talk about that when we get to the Hawks and Heat game later on in the day. He is looking like at least a stream option or a back-end 12-team league option with the way that Quinn Snyder is using him in Atlanta. The most dropped players over the last 24 hours. Number 1 is Cameron Thomas, down 16%, back-to-back 7-minute games. I don't think he will stay at 7 minutes a night, but I also don't think that he's a must-roster player, so no problem. Then you got some Spurs getting dropped. Jeremy Sohan down 10%. Yes, they don't play till Friday. Kader Bates-Diop down 8%. Easy drop. John Kuminga down 7%. I think we might see some better production from him, but I also think that Wiggins' return might be coming really shortly, and that's going to have a real impact on Kuminga, so no problem dropping him. Trey Jones and Charles Bassey, 2 more Spurs getting dropped, absolutely okay. Isaiah Joe down 5%. With a game tomorrow with Jalen Williams maybe out, perhaps would have held on to Joe, but I get it. Like, the value of him is only really boosted when Shea is out. And then Jim Wiseman, Blunty, down 5%. He fouled out in like 24 minutes today. I don't know why you would have dropped him when they played today, tomorrow, and Thursday. That's a weird move to see that many people drop him. And as much as I'm not a big Wiseman fan, I definitely wouldn't have dropped him given that situation, given the absence, or not, given the way that the schedule had panned out. Weird call, but people make weird calls all the time. First game, let's get straight into it. It is the Boston Celtics in a back-to-back overtime game. They lose to the Cavs 118-114. There was no Tatum or no Horford. Horford is a scheduled rest. I think Tatum is basically a scheduled rest after playing huge minutes on Sunday. So they were able to start a front court of Blake Griffin and Mike Muscala. Griffin played 18 minutes and had 4 points, while Muscala was pretty useful. 5 points, 2 steals, 1 block, 6 rebounds. But Horford's going to play next game. Tatum's going to play, so don't worry about that. Jaylen Brown, 45 minutes after 44 or something yesterday.
JB, you've done it again.
He was great. A little bit annoying from the free throw line, just 7 of 10, but 32, 13, and 9 there, while Brogdon had 24, 4, and 5 in his return. And Derek White, good minutes, but the last 2 games he's played 30-plus with Rob Williams out, and it hasn't really resulted in big numbers. 12, 3, and 2 from Derek, 2 triples, no defensive stats, 35% shooting. We hold him, but that really hot run that he had is not present at the moment, and he's struggling to put up good per-minute numbers, or even just good numbers. Marcus Smart, not great with 11 points on 17 shots, but 5 assists, 2 steals, a block. That gets it going, and he had 3 threes in there as well. Well, for the Cavs, they actually went small quite a bit here, so Jarrett Allen only played 26 minutes. He had 4 and 6, just a weird matchup, lineup type of situation. They went with Mobley at center a lot. He played 41 minutes, Mobley, 25 and 17 with 3 blocks. We've seen his usage and his offensive output increase of late, and another example here. While Don Mitchell was questionable heading into this game,
He's Don. He's good.
he had 40 points in 47 minutes with 11 rebounds and 4 threes. Inefficient, but we love that volume. While Garland had 17, 5, and 12, and he was worse with 33% shooting. We got 33 minutes out of Dracaris LeVert. And he scored, 7 points? This has been a problem with him all season with the shooting, but the other stuff's good. 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Unfortunately, he shot 29%. I'm not interested in Caris LeVert outside of streaming or maybe as a points league guy, but as a category league guy, no. And then we had 23 Isaac Okoro minutes, 18 Chetty Osman minutes, only 7 Rubio minutes. Rubio has really struggled since coming back from his ACL. Fair enough. He's 33 years of age coming back from an ACL. He has really struggled. And I'm even considering these maybe not even a 16-team league guy at this point with how they're limiting him and how poorly he is playing a lot of this time. Lamar Stevens had 8 and 8, and he was another one of those guys in the mix getting minutes at the 3. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. We're all looking for a delicious treat, but we don't want the fat, the sugary goodness. Nah, there's just the sugar or the calories that comes in a traditional candy bar. Built Bar has you covered. High in protein, low in calories, low in fat as well, but they taste unbelievable. They taste just like a candy bar, but you're doing something good. You're getting that protein into your body. And I've told you for years that you can go to Built.com and you can order these Built Bars, and that's still the case. We can still go there and see all of their amazing flavors, special edition flavors. But now you can just walk straight into a Walmart, and there they are on the shelf. A 4-bar box of coconut puff, cookies and cream, and double chocolate. Whereas for if you go to Sam's Club, you've got big boxes, 13-bar boxes of churro flavor and brownie batter flavor. So go to Built.com or go to Walmart or go to your local Sam's Club and get yourself boxes of Built Bar. Built Bar is built different. The second game we're going to look at was the Sixers beating the Pacers. The Sixers were without Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker, so Jalen McDaniels played 30 minutes in the start and had 20 points with 8 rebounds. Not a lot else there. No assists, 1 steal, but 62% shooting. They play again tomorrow, the Sixers, so if Harris and Tucker are out, we will stream in Jalen McDaniels. Otherwise, we'll leave it alone. They also started D'Anthony Melton, and he wasn't particularly strong, 9 and 6 with the 1-1. But again, with that back-to-back tomorrow, if we do have Melton, we hold because he's got a bigger chance than McDaniels of playing 26 minutes, even if Harris and Tucker return. Tyrese Maxey's scoring continues to be really good. He's on a massive heater with high field goal percentage. 24 points, but in true Maxey style, not a lot else. 0 rebounds and 2 assists. The 6 triples are nice. The high shooting is nice. He's absolutely on fire with that shot. Brace yourself for a cold streak, but he's killing it at the moment. And Jimmy Harden had only 14 points on 27%, which sucks, but 20 assists with 9 rebounds, while Embiid had 42, 5 and 3, 2 steals and a block. George Niang played big minutes last game. Not really here at all, 11 minutes, while Shake Milton is the guy that got the big boost off the bench. Shake played 30 minutes in this one. 15 15 points with 4 threes in those 30 minutes. Don't think there's anything to really see with that. For the Pacers, Aaron Nesmith was out, so Jordan Nwora started, and for the second consecutive game, Nwora played fewer minutes as a starter than he has as a reserve. I don't know what the logic behind it is, but it's Rick Carlisle, so who knows? 16 points for Nwora with 2 threes. He's a streamer, but he's just a deeper league guy because of this minutes thing. While Miles Turner got into extreme foul trouble. He fouled out in 17 minutes. That's why he played 17 minutes. And that meant that we didn't really get to see any sort of delineation between Isaiah Jackson and Jalen Smith because they both played. Well, that's actually not true because we did see delineation because Jalen Smith played 21 minutes after being out of the rotation, the last 2.
Stand by your man!
14 points with 2 threes and 2 blocks, while Isaiah Jackson had 9 minutes for 4 points. So maybe they're just going to run 2 games in a row of backup centers and we see Smith again in the next game and then it's back to Jackson. I don't know. All I know is we can't really rely upon it yet. Habliurton was questionable heading into this game. He played 37 minutes and had 43 and 16 on elite percentages with 5 threes. Just amazing numbers for him. And McConnell was also good. 22 minutes. They crossed over a little bit. TJ did with Habliurton. He had 12, 5, and 4 with 3 steals. He's a streamer, not a must-roster guy. Mathurin's obviously not must-roster either. He played 30 minutes, but 13, 2, and 0. No defensive stats. No assists. 3 of 6 from the line. He just hurts you so often in category leagues that you can't have him as a must-roster player. Well, Buddy Hield didn't play well early, but 15 and 8, 4 threes, 56% shooting. Unfortunately, 1 of 4 from the line, but otherwise, some okay numbers there from Bud because it didn't look like it was going to end up being particularly strong at one point there for the big fella. The Blazers beat the Pistons on the road 110-104. Lillard was great again, a triple-double, 31, 13, and 12, a steal and a block. Unlucky, or not great shooting, maybe that's better, 36% shooting for him, but some good numbers, while Jeremy Grant had 46 and 6 with 3 blocks. Good to see him getting those blocks in, but Cam Reddish, probably the surprise story here, 40 minutes in a non-overtime game. Only 13 points, but 8 assists, 3 threes, 2 steals. 30% shooting and 67 from the line is rough. That hurts in category leagues. But the volume is enough to have him as a 12-team league guy while Simons is out. But we don't know when Simons and Nurkic are going to return. We also saw Trendon Watford play 29 minutes compared to Drew Eubanks' 19. Eubanks still had 10 and 3 with a steal and 2 blocks, which is a good fantasy line, while Watford had 12 and 2, which is not as good of a fantasy line. They're both sort of fringe guys. I would still lean Eubanks over Watford. Watford more for 14s and Eubanks more for 12. Shaden Sharp did nothing, 6 points in 21 minutes, while it was the second bad game in a row for Thibault. He played a lot of minutes, 37 minutes for the painter, but 3, 3, and 2 with a steal. And what we've said all along with him, it's all about steals. And what have we said about steals all season is they are the most volatile category, game to game, week to week, year to year. He only had 1 steal and 0 blocks. Low volume stats, this is what happens. You can't rely upon Thibault's offense, but there will be nights where he has 5 steals and nights where he has 1. And 1 is still okay, but that's the only reason you have him is to get multiple steals. I'm not telling you to drop Thibault. You shouldn't drop Thibault. He is a guy you need to hold, and if someone drops him, add him. But you need to understand that some of that offensive stuff that he was doing is not reliable. We don't have him for that, and there are going to be lots of ups and downs in his defensive In his defensive stats. It's just what happens. For the Pistons, I don't know how really to analyze this game. There was no Bogdanovic, Hayes, Duran, or Stewart. And then Hamidou Diallo sprained his ankle towards the end. Diallo had 9 and 8. Not a great game at all from him. 1 of 6 in the line is actually putrid. But he was a guy that was looking to be an interesting ad with the 3 and 4 coming up. But I don't think he's going to play tomorrow. Wiseman played 24 minutes, 12 and 7 with 3 blocks. Acts pretty useful. He fouled out. But what does he do when Duran and Stewart play? We don't know. And it feels like Bagley the 4th and Bagley the 3rd are just alternating games. Like Bagley played 36 minutes here, Bagley the 3rd, the actual Marvin Bagley, and had 10 and 8 on 41% shooting. He still had 2 blocks, and he still is useful to have while these players are out. But these guys are just not good enough for me to look at as players who maintain 26 minutes a night rest of season. Jaden Ivey, only 31 minutes. Casey continually limits his minutes. He had 13, 5, and 13, but shot 29%. Yuck. The 13 assists are really, really strong, but the other stuff is just, there's always something lacking there. You probably do want to hold him given the schedule here, but he's 204th over the last week, 177th for the season, Jaden Ivey, and much like Benedict Mathurin, just struggling to make any sort of fantasy impact. Roderick Hampton Jr. had a fantasy impact. 19 or 20 minutes for Hampton, 10 points, 2 threes, but 5 steals gets it done, while Corey Joseph played an incomprehensible 32 minutes, 14, 5, and 4. I guess you could stream Joseph if Hayes is out, or you could try Hampton, but Hampton's value is bumped there because of 5 steals. If he doesn't have 5 steals, the line doesn't really look anywhere near as good, although in deeper leagues, there is still stream value. But who knows who plays tomorrow? Diallo, Bogdanovic, Hayes, Duran, Stewart, Magruder. Those are 6 guys who may or may not play tomorrow. I don't think Diallo is playing, but anyone else could play. Or Wiseman was questionable before today's game with a knee issue. Wouldn't be surprised if he sits out tomorrow. So this team, you're going to have to wait and see till we get injury updates before you decide who to stream. Isaiah Livers played 39 minutes, 17 points for him. He's not usually a usage guy like this, and by usage, like he had 16%. Normally he's like 10%, 11%. Good scoring, good shooting. Don't really care for him as a fantasy ad at this point. And Alec Burks, only 23 minutes. Alec Burks. Which is annoying. There was a big opportunity for him here. 13, 6, and 4 with a steal and a block. It's still not bad numbers. He shot horribly. It could have been better. I don't mind him as a stream or a hold for tomorrow, but he's also a guy that they could make up an injury for, and he doesn't play tomorrow. That is a possibility there as well. The next game, the Atlanta Hawks lose to the Miami Heat. 128-130. DeJounte Murray, 23, 4, and 8 with 37 minutes. Really strong. Trae Young, 34 minutes, 25, 1, and 7. Pretty strong. And John Collins was even strong. 17 points for Johnny on 64% shooting. Now, fortunately, he had 1 rebound and he played just 20 minutes. Did he play 20 minutes because that's what Quinn Snyder wants, or did he do it because he got 4 fouls? The trend is telling us that Snyder only wants limited minutes, and I still think that Collins is a drop. And that means Sadiq Bey is pushing into addable territory, or if he's not already there. 17 points, 3 threes, 6 rebounds, 3 assists on 60%. Still low usage, and he was a team worst minus 16, Sadiq. But he did get some good opportunities, and he's been scoring and hitting threes at an okay level there on nights where they play. He has some value in 12-team leagues. Interestingly, we'd seen a Clint Capella 25 and Onyeka Okongwu 23 minutes split recently. Not here. 34 minutes for Capella, 14 for Okongwu. Capella got 12 and 10 in that time, while Okongwu had 6 and 2. And if Okongwu gets 23 a night, then clearly he's a 12-team league player. But the downside is this. And he's like 173rd over the last week. I think you still can hold him, but it is always really hard, unless they are an elite permanent producer, Charles Bassey, as a backup center to hold when there's significant downside risk like this. I don't think Bogdanovic is a must-hold either. Bogdan, that's 12, 2, and 2 with him in only 24 minutes, and the minutes are worrying me, while Hunter was 14, 4, and 4, which is more 14-team league stuff. For the Heat, Kevin Love was out, so they started Max Strus, not Caleb Martin, but Martin got the starters minutes. 28 minutes for Caleb, 21, 4, and 2, a steal and a block. Now, he still only took 9 shots and hit them at a high rate, but he's playing pretty well. He's at least streamable if you're looking for some threes, some steals, and some points. Adebayo, 16, 7, and 5 with 3 steals is a great game, while Butler had 26, 9, and 9. Big game for Victor Oladipo as well. 32 minutes, 22 points, 4 threes, 2 blocks. Now, I think some of that is because they started Max Strus and played him as a forward, opening up more minutes for Vic. I'm not adding Oladipo after this, but it's definitely intriguing. While Strus had 8 points in 22, and Hero struggled again with his shot. Man, his shooting has been rough for like the last 2 months, I feel like. 13 points, 3 threes, 36% shooting. There's also a stinker from Gabe Vincent. 8 points, 24 minutes, 2 threes. I don't know when Lowry's coming back, but I do know that Vincent continues to struggle, and I don't think we need to look at him as a 12-team league guy, unfortunately. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is, well, actually, we'll get to FanDuel in a second, because towards the end of the NBA season, it is the perfect time now for you to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scorers and three-pointers drained. We have a look at some of the games tomorrow. The Warriors on the road against the Thunder are 4.5-point favorites. Do you think the Warriors, with their abysmal road record, can actually cover 4.5 points? Seems a little bit doubtful, but hey, that's the way the odds are on FanDuel. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, next game. The Nuggets win it 118-113. The final score here. It's a pretty curious refereeing towards the end, including Scotty Barnes getting ejected. 34 minutes for Barnes, 12 and 9 with a steal and a block. Let's just say it was shithouse. It was bad stuff from the refs. And I hate ejections. I hate techs. I hate refs who are overly sensitive. It's so annoying. I don't know what the purpose of it is. It just frustrates me. Anyway, good game. Well, not that good game from Barnes. It was an okay game from Barnes. It was a good game from VanVleet. 21, 1 and 14 with 2 steals, while Pirtle played 32 minutes. The minutes continue to be an adventure with him, but 18, 9 and 4, a steal and a block, and he continues to be amazing, really. Outside of missing those couple of free throws, he's been great since arriving in Toronto. The Gary Trent trend continues to be weird. Yes, the last game that we saw, Gaz, it was pretty good.
Nice, Gary!
But it's like 4 out of the last 5, these under 30 minutes, 13, 1 and 0. Not because he shot poorly, 67% shooting, but because they went to Pirtle more. 23 minutes only for Trent, low usage, no other stats. I'm not saying that he is a drop, but if we revisit this in another week, and this is what's happening, then he is. Achua had 9 and 6 in 19 minutes, while we had Anunoby have 12 and 4. I would hold Anunoby. That's not a great game. And Siakam had 19, 4 and 4. Definitely not a great game by his standards. There are easy ways, though, for Trent to play more. Like 11 Will Barton minutes, useless. But it's happening. And it's happening a lot of the time. And that is the real concern here with Gaz as we move forward. No Vlatko Čančar in the lineup today. And it was a stinker from Bruce Brown. I don't know why I started with him, but I did. 20 minutes, 9 points, 15%. 2 steals. He was one of the most added players. We saw that earlier on. I think he's very fringe as a 12-team must. He can be used. He doesn't have to be. The good stuff, Jokic had 17, 13, and 9. Very low usage, though. While Jamal Murray had 24 with 5 threes, 5 assists, and 3 steals. And Gordon was back to his best, 30 minutes, 19, 6, and 5, and 2 steals. Really good game from Porter as well. 20 and 5 with 4 triples. Considering he was ill coming in, he is starting to put it together at the moment. But honestly, this game's a little bit boring from a fantasy perspective. Reggie Jackson played 23 minutes for some reason, more minutes than Bruce Brown. He had 13 points with 3 threes. We're only looking at Reggie as like a deeper league stream, but that's it. But there's not really a huge amount of commentary I think that's needed for this for that game. And then the last game of the night, big blowout. The Kings win it. 123-108. Is that the right score? Yeah, 123-108. Don't know what I was looking at there. So the Kings get a comfortable blowout victory over the Pelicans. For the Pelicans, Trey Murphy, 37 minutes. 17, 5 and 4, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 4 triples. That's an amazing line. It does help that Josh Richardson is out, but he should never have been benched to begin with. And I think it was trending back in the direction of Murphy. And anyway, he's fine to have, but understand that he's not always going to be like this, but I have seen maybe a little bit of a turned corner in terms of aggression, which is great. The return of Jonas Valanciunas, he played 32 minutes.
Jonas Valanciunas.
19 and 12. That meant Billy Hernan-Gomez was out of the rotation. They actually gave the backup minutes to Jackson Hayes, for those of you in deeper leagues. Not a great game from CJ McCollum, only 31 minutes, and Kyrie Lewis was actually in at the end. CJ played 31, had 14, 4 and 3. Lewis didn't do much, 3 points on 14%. But he was a minus 27. He just struggled. Herb Jones was great, though. 13, 8 and 8, a steal and a block. Much like with some of the stuff with Thibault, whenever you get a game like this, it's great, but it's a real bonus. But don't look at this as like, oh, here's something new, because I don't think it's going to stick. He was still 11% usage. He got there on 63% shooting, hit all 3 of his 3-point attempts. It's steals and blocks that you're looking for Herb, mainly steals. And if you get games like this, you feel good about it. Ingram had 24, 3 and 7 in 38 minutes. Not much else going on there. For the Kings, no De'Aaron Fox, so Davion Mitchell started, and he was okay. 15, 1 and 6 with 3 threes. It sounds like Fox will play their next game, which is on Thursday, I believe. So we don't need to add Mitchell, but if Fox remains out, then we do. Sabonis had 19, 11, 11, a triple-double with a triple-one. Great game from him. While Herder, back-to-back good games. 37 minutes, 25, 5 and 8, 6 triples, 2 steals, and a block. We love that from Kevin Herter, who's been very much up and down. And it helps that Malik Monk was sort of in the doghouse. He played 2 minutes in the first half. He ended with 12 minutes only. His production has been well down over the last week. You can very, very easily jack off Malik Monk.
Get that garbage out of here!
Understanding that at any point he could go crazy and Herter could be limited. But it swung back to Herter at the moment. Keegan Murray was just okay. Nothing bad, nothing good. 37 minutes, 13, 3 and 2, 2 steals, 2 threes. That's enough to be a hold, but he remains a back-end guy, while the pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Just a Harrison Barnes night. 14, 3 and 3 with a triple-one. Also, big game from Trey Lyles off the bench. It's not huge, but 14, 5 and 4, 18 minutes. He's worked his way at least into being, on like a low-volume day, a 12-team stream option. He's producing at a decent enough level, like top 120 over the last week, at least moving into the, who am I going to add as a center on a low-volume night? Well, Trey Lyles has pushed himself into that discussion now, amazingly. The waiver wire, or the lines of the night just in general. The monstrous does go to Joel Embiid. Your waiver wire line of the night goes to Caleb Martin. The young gun is Evan Mobley. And the dud of the night is Benedict Mathurin. Top 10 players in category leagues today. Number 1 was Embiid, followed by Habliurton, Lillard, Don Mitchell, Jokic, Mobley, Jeremy Grant, Sabonis, Van Vliet, and Jamal Murray. Your top 10 players rostered in under 50%. Number 1 was Caleb Martin. Doesn't happen often where the thumbnail picture from my streaming show from the day before ends up as the waiver wire line of the night. It did with Caleb. Yeah, look, he's okay to stream in at the moment. RJ Hampton, nice, but I honestly don't know who's going to play tomorrow. And if Hayes is playing, does Hampton even get a run at things? Probably not. Probably not. Karis LeVert, maybe, but he's just a streamer. TJ McConnell, no. Victor Oladipo, liked what I saw from him, but I'm not really convinced that it's a long-term thing. Paul Reed, no. Jalen McDaniels, maybe. If Tobias Harris is out, we can stream him in tomorrow. Davion Mitchell, as I said just then, with Fox likely to play on Thursday, Mitchell has limited value. Jalen Smith, well, if we knew who the backup center was, he has some deeper league appeal, but I think it's going to be like a 2-game on, 2-game off thing. And then Corey Joseph. Again, if Hayes is out tomorrow, Joseph is worth a look. I'd have Hampton over him, but Joseph's worth a look. Top 10 players in points leagues today. Number 1 was Habliurton, followed by Lillard, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Joel Embiid, James Harden, Evan Mobley, Kevin Huerter, Domantas Sabonis, and Jimmy Butler. And guys, that'll do it for me today. Today, there wasn't a huge amount of impactful stuff going on. It was just a weird day. Not many big breakouts, not many weird rotation changes, just stock standard stuff. But we got a show, and I hope you got something out of it. Follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. And if you're here on YouTube, you thumb it up and you leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.